Welcome to MotoGP Mac, where MotoGP fans come to congregate and fanboys fear to tread. And we have Scruffy, a new contestant on the show tonight.
Contestant.
Yeah.
I hope I win the Cadillac.
I hope he is the Cadillac. So look, before we get into it, we're filming this on a Thursday. CB was supposed to be with us tonight. He's in pre-op for getting his collarbone plated or screwed. He thinks it's going to be Marc Marquez and rush back after 2 days after surgery.
Sure.
But just want to wish him best of luck. And obviously, you'll be watching this on Monday. So I think he was having the surgery on Friday, wasn't it, Jake? So he may leave a comment. So don't be surprised.
They're melting everything today. They screw and pin everything now.
Yeah, sure. Look and glue it and fucking duct tape and tie wrap it. There's no difference.
Nobody ever screwed and all that. That was like, okay, well.
I know. I pins and plates and all of that shit from. Oops.
Yeah.
But,
I'm years on from my surgery or lack of surgery, so I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I was always worried about dinging going through, the airport security machine. Ding. Here's a ding. Anyway, just a brief note. So when you're watching this now, it will be Monday. I'm going on holidays actually tomorrow, so I'm actually taking a holiday, and
should.
I've taken some advice from people of not doing the walking down the street in Portugal or wherever I'm going, and doing videos. So I've worked me balls off the past few days to have videos done for every day while I'm away. So there will be videos done every day while I'm away. However, there won't be major news because I'm banned from making videos while I'm away.
Yeah.
Renting another Tesla?
No. I'm getting on an aeroplane and I'm polluting the world going where I'm going. So, yes, it will be an Irishman in thing. Now, the only thing that I am pissed off about is that I'm missing where I'll be will be about 10 kilometers away from where World Superbikes will be a week later. So it's a bit of a balls, but anyway.
Portimao, right?
Yeah. It's my little circuit, and actually, just as that happened, the creator or the owner of Portimao actually passed away last week. Paolo, really good guy. Will definitely be missed. Loved it. Like they built the track, on natural ground, no Formula One designers and this, that, and the other. But they got MotoGP, Formula One, Le Mans series. They got all the big series there and proved everything wrong. Of you don't need this big circuit designer that's going to charge you 200 million just to design the circuit.
Yeah. So not a Tilke track.
Yeah, you can do it on the back of a cigarette box. Love it.
We know the story of Laguna Seca.
Hmm?
You know the story of Laguna Seca?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Laguna Seca, get this. This is a true story. They had to get the bulldozer in at the end of the day. And the guy just took the bulldozer and bulldozed his way down, okay, and did it real quick. And get the thing back into the garage because it was supposed to downpour and they figured it would get stuck. And there is where the corkscrew came from. Yeah. They just winged it.
Yeah, that's my home track.
Sometimes it is the best way. Now, we know, I suppose, that Kazakhstan, actually talking about tracks, is gone, and it's been replaced with a second round at Misano World Circuit. So the Emilia Romana circuit 2 weeks after it. So it's going to be very interesting because the 8th of September is the Misano. And the 9th of September is the Misano test. And this is kind of going to be the real crux of it. And I know September sounds a long way away, right? But once we hit Britain, we've Austria, Aragon, and then San Marino. So we have it very, very quickly coming up. But Misano is where you normally get a taste of next year's prototypes. So it will be interesting to see. And the fact then that 2 weeks later they're back again in San Marino or Misano again, I expect to see a good improvement between lap times and structures and stuff like that. Also, it was a bit disappointing for British fans. Cal Crutchlow had surgery on his hand, and for some reason or another, it hasn't been healing or hasn't healed well enough. So Remy Gardner is actually going to be stepping in again for the British Grand Prix. No, look, it's good to see Gardner getting another crack at it. You know what I mean? I think he did okay. His first time out, and then okay, yes, he had a couple of crashes and whatnot, but I think it was interesting. But like, still, I just don't know. Could he live with, like, he beat the Hondas, right? So, or one of the Hondas. So, but look,
Not
I think
a bad benchmark.
yeah, well, it's an achievable one. Let's just call it that. So yeah, look, I think it's going to be bit disappointment for British fans that they wanted to see him. But yeah, other than that, city season, I wonder what's going to happen.
What's the latest you've heard?
I think it's not kind of the latest I heard. It's there's a lot of confusion over the 3 bikes for Ducati, and you know, it's kind of weird for me. And I get it. Like Jake, we talked about this in the last one. It's like, you know, does it make sense to do 4 and 2, have 4 points of data, and like the 2 old ones they know, like does 3 and 3 does balance the data? But are they making a rod for their own back, Ducati, by saying, okay, next year you can have the second, or sorry, you'll have 3 bikes. Are they cutting one rider off just needlessly? Do you know what I mean? So like they have Fermain Eldegar coming in. They don't know what team they're going to, or that he's going to go to. I would hazard a guess, and I think it's going to be VR46, right? And if they give him a 24 to start on, that's not a bad idea for a rookie. Well, then, you know, within that VR46 team, you're splitting strategies constantly. There's no, I don't know, there's no cross reference really between if you have the two. And we saw it when Mooney VR46 had it in Mooney when it was Luca Marini had the GP22 and the other one had the GP21 or whatever way around it was. I can't remember. But yeah, there's like Rossi's or VR46 are like, you know, it's the wrong strategy, and they're kind of, I think there's the events negotiations going on where they want the 2 factory bikes. They want to be the premier team. You know, they want to have the edge up over Grassini. Now, Grassini are showing them the way home. Now, okay, specifically Marc Marquez is on the Grassini bike is showing them the way home. And like Grassini will finish 2nd or 3rd in the team's championship this year. There's no doubt in that, but it's highly unlikely that VR46 will get there. So then they're like, do they give 1 bike each? Do you know what I mean? And it's trying to keep everyone somewhat happy, not totally happy, but somewhat happy. But I think it's going to cause a rift.
Do you think Mark will end up getting the Spec B 23 sooner than later?
It depends. I don't genuinely know, right? Because if Ducati have always been very fair on the developments, right? If they gave the development to one rider, they gave it to another rider. I did see a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, you know, they didn't have the Valencia spec bike and whatnot." And like, let's just remember what Mark said. Mark said that the GP23 current model that he has, that the GP24 is about 0.2 of a second quicker than that. So that's version 1 of the 2024. Would the 23B version be faster than the 24? It quite probably could be. But we don't know. Do you know what I mean? And is that the reason that Ducati had a gap? And this is where I really come back to, they're going into like a client version of it. Like with the Ferrari Formula One cars, you can buy an old Formula One car and they'll run it for you at an exorbitant price. but they will bring you to the track and they will run it. It's the exact same now. If you have a version 123 that you're renting to a business that our business are renting it off you, what is the spec of bike that you have? Okay, this is the spec you buy. So I think it would be in contract rather than, oh, Mark is now a Ducati rider. Let's give him everything that we can give him. Do you know what I mean? So I think it would be in line with that contract. And that's what I think the contract is, that if at the start of the year you get version 1, if you're fighting for the championship or this, that, or the other, you may get version 2. Or it might be just that you are on version 1 for the full season.
When Mark did the Valencia test, was he on the Spec B bike for last year?
He was on the original Spec 1. Yeah, I don't think he's ever had. And that was one of the things that I was looking at, especially is you'll see the difference, especially within the front wheel area and the aero there, that there is a slight difference. Now, saying that, they have updated 2 or 3 races ago the front aero end cover, or sorry, the front aero just that hangs below the brake disc. You can see it, whereas before it was kind of, I think there's now like a little straight edge out on it. And again, it's just, while it is interesting, it's probably one of these parts that they found something that helped that bike, the front end of that bike, stick by putting that out 3 millimeters more or whatever. So it is interesting. Have they, like, I don't expect a part B 24 till probably just before Misano. You know, now the fact that they're going to have 2 Misano races or air races in Italy, like, it's going to turn up the temperature for them to win there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, saying that, Martin, Marquez, and Pecco are all very good at Misano. So it's going to make it pretty interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a hell of a race.
Yeah. Alicia Spargaro to Honda. I still can't figure this out. All about money, I would think.
Money.
Yeah, you know, it's the only way that I
Alicia likes his private jets and Lamborghinis.
He does.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Porsches, Lamborghinis, private jets. Now, saying that, look, he's bringing his family with him. Do you know what I mean? I get it.
His money is soon parted, as they say.
I mean, you would think between he and Danny, they've got to be the highest paid test riders, right?
They would, yeah. Like, I think Crutchlow would be well taken care of too. To be fair, I don't think he's a fool and doing it for nothing. But I suppose, like, it's, again, we kind of mentioned this last week, but it's like, I'm really worried about it because I think what's going to happen there, he's going to go in full of piss and vinegar, as you like to say, Jake. They're going to listen to him, and then they're not going to take any notice of him, you know, and then he's going to start fucking whinging and bawling and crying and then, you know, blaming that, oh, they're not listening to me, that's why the bike is not going forward. Do you know what I mean? Now, Aleix is a really good rider, right? And he did get some really good feedback to the Aprilia team. But Aprilia have also invested heavily in bringing engineers in, right? And the right people in, and the right mentality of developing a bike. You know, they're trying things, they're testing during racing weekends. They have a lot of the fundamentals that are there. Is it all Aleix? It's not all Aleix. I don't believe so. There is rider feedback, there is this, but there's also the engineering side of it, of the fella that's the grandfather of the bike is sitting down and he's putting the pieces of the jigsaw together as he's designing the bike, not when the bike is already, the wheels are on, the suspension's on, the engine's on, and so, we need fairings. You know, let's put a wing.
We can never forget Rossi, who was going to fix the bike in 15 minutes, and it proved riders are riders and engineers are engineers.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Well, Jeremy helped push that narrative too, right?
He did. Yeah, that was that. Some of that narrative was Jeremy Burgess. Like,
yes.
Now, Jeremy Burgess, let's be fair, is one of the Adrian Newey's of this world. You know what I mean? He is one of those people that understood it, right? But what happened is that the technology moved on, and it moved to the next level.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if any of you have ever bought or reviewed. There's a book by Neil Spalding, and ye may not know who Neil Spalding is.
Oh yeah,
but he literally gives you a full insight into how a MotoGP bike is built. And it goes from start to finish, but every manufacturer. And you can see and understand, I think it was up to the 2010, but his insight, even today, he's like one of the top engineers. Like he's like Scarbs for aerodynamics. He would be the Scarbs of motorbike engineering. And he is just...
He was the one that said, he was one of the original guys. They said that a chrome moly tube frame, roughly, would tap out at 200 horsepower. That was the mark where you could get the flex and the horsepower correct, the blend correct. After that, it started getting kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, and it probably was him that mentioned. Look, like there's a lot of people that are there now. During the week as well, I was reading. I was laughing. Tech 3 have kind of come out and said for next season, obviously they're going to be a second works KTM factory racing team, and the goal for every weekend is to have both bikes on the podium, right? And then I was like, you have Maverick, you're down to one. Do you know what I mean? To do it every weekend, yes, once in a while, every fucking weekend, Maverick ain't gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like the ink is still wet, and I'm already starting to worry, is he going to be fucked out the door due to inconsistency? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Maverick, I think his best shot at a title was if he had just stayed with Suzuki. He needs to be in the right headspace, and he seemed the most comfortable there and was putting up results right when he came in. I don't know. KTM doesn't seem like a happy home for him.
I think it's a dangerous one, is what.
And their temperament's short, where Aprilia was overly forgiving. They wouldn't put up with a tenth of the crap that Aprilia puts up with.
They won't. No. And like you can see it, right? They're publicly announcing that they love Jack Miller, and then they fucking dump him.
That was brutal.
Now, look, Jack, but it's brutal. But at the end of the day, lads, it's the pinnacle of motorbike racing. You've scored 35 points halfway through the season. You do deserve to lose your fucking spot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the only ones really behind you are another struggling bike and the Hondas. Do you know what I mean? A couple of Yamahas of people that are struggling. So again, no doubt that you're questioned and whatnot.
I guess when I say brutal, it's more because they had told him, don't talk to anybody else. When they probably should have told him, shop yourself around a little bit and see what happens.
Well, yeah. Look, I suppose that's one of the things where, and I think Jake is probably on the money on this. They wanted him as another test rider, and I think that's why he came out and saying, "Well, fucking test rider ain't for me." Like, do you know what I mean? So I think he was directly answering that back without actually making it public that that's what they were offering him. Do you know?
Yeah.
The other thing I found very funny was Nakagami. Now, we all say Nakagami is in there because of he's Japanese, and there is no other Japanese rider. But he's kind of coming out now and saying, well, that I'd like to stay with LCR, but look, if it's going to be that I'm at the back of the grid, then fuck that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's our first for Japanese riders say, isn't it?
It is. I thought it was just very interesting, but like, it must be very demoralizing for any Honda rider right now. Going in there, knowing the bike is in so much trouble, but knowing that you don't know how to get out of it. No matter what you do, you're always going to struggle. And like, if you remember what's that?
I have Aprilia. He has Ducati. Where's yours?
Uh-oh. It's got to have something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to be careful now, or I'll turn up in a Honda one.
Oh.
Just to annoy you. Yeah. I'm going to turn into a Honda fanboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about fanboys. Actually, there was this crazy guy this week, and he put out a question, and it was a genuine question about Mark, and he's like, tell me a time wherever you saw Mark through an unsportsmanlike behavior and this, that, and the other. And I listed 2 events, right? And one of the events was when he crashed in Sachsenring and he cleaned out Johan Zarco. Now, Zarco was keeled over in the gravel after Mark's bike accidentally, and it was an accident, but I was like, you
Simon
accidentally.
It wasn't, by the way.
Huh?
And Simon says it wasn't.
What do you mean?
He said he did it on purpose.
But anyway.
Just for reference, anyhow.
But my point was that you crash, you take someone out. No one is saying it's your fault, but you just clean someone out and they're in the gravel in pain. You go over and you say sorry. Do you know what I mean? Didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And the other time then was about towing and this, that, and the other. And like, it's okay to tow someone if someone doesn't mind you towing, but if someone's like telling you fuck off and you still do it, that's being a prick and acting on sports. And he went off in a fucking rant anyway. And then he started bringing up Rossi and all of this. And I'm like, wait a second. You asked for examples of when it happened. You got them. And then you started bringing up other shit. And I was like, don't fucking ask questions that you don't like the answer to. Do you know what I mean? I have a memory of a fucking elephant. If you ask for something, I will find it and I will tell you. And if you don't like it, well, you get fucked off anyway. So
how many times have we said we are Rossi's fans because of his talent, but the towing and all that crap, or the bash pass is not acceptable. I call him bash passing. Because if you have a 1 foot hole and you have a 2 foot bike and you smash into somebody,
but again, like when I was racing, it was okay to give a fellow a dig or a slap.
Yeah, but that's not a dig or slap when you got this much space and you're jamming yourself into the hole, so it pries the bike away.
I don't know, but there's the best times are getting into a tight space, right?
No.
It's the most fun, Jakey. Do you know what I mean? It's the most fun. But no, I get you, right? Look, there's a difference between rubbing his racing and bashing, right? And I get it, right? But again, look, I won't be entertaining people, and like I just give my opinion. If you agree with it, great. If you don't, great too. Do you know what I mean? But I have zero time for people where you ask for an example and an example is given, and then you're like, but this other fella did, and you're just like,
fuck off.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think. I think for Nakagami, I thought it was a really strange comment from a Japanese rider to be like, yeah, if it's going to continue like this, I'm fucking off. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, he's nearly better off riding nothing than being a tail end Charlie on the Honda and like going around the Honda. Like Mir there was a special meeting in Sachsenring after the race with Mir, and everyone was like freaking out because Marini was going well. And Mir then was fucking tail end Charlie. Like Mir finished last or whatever. So my understanding is that there was fucking crisis meetings in Honda. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And they're no closer to solving the fucking problem. Like, what do I expect in Misano coming out of Honda? Do I expect a bike that's going to half close that gap? No. Which that is a very, very worrying.
Well, fact. Even from a team manager perspective, where do they go from here?
It's a very good question. I think they really missed a trick not securing Davide Brevio. I think they really, really missed a trick there.
100%.
And I know you do have ties and met with Livio Supo, But I don't even think he could dig him out of this shit either. Do you know what I mean? And I Livio is one of the guys that I would love to chat to. I'm always pinging him on LinkedIn to be like, "Hey, let's go for a chat. Let's have a chat." And
yeah,
he's
I think I told you I had the privilege of working with him just a little bit, and I mean, Livio is he's cut from a different cloth in terms of seeing the human aspect of it versus the technical. And I don't know if that's what Honda's missing right now because of they're so stuck in their ways, but. To your point, I don't think Livio could dig them out of this hole.
No, what they actually need is a translator, and they need someone. I think, like when we looked at Honda last year, we were like, "Oh, they're a fucking rock bottom now, right?" Now they've found the fucking inner core of the earth, right? They've gone so low, right? And it's going to get to a stage, and I think of where they're going to be in complete desperation. And you're going to get one of these really good ones then that'll come out of the woodwork and be like, we're going to do it, but if we're going to do it, it's going to be my way. Do you know what I mean? And like they did with Ross Brawn and the Formula One, like you have to imagine with Formula One, they were spending 750, 800 million a year on Formula One, right? And they were fucking blowing up after 3 laps or 10 laps or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then they gave Braun the money and the budget and whatever, right? And okay, they did pull out in 2008 or 2009 or whatever it was. And Braun went on to win the fucking championship with the car designed and funded that year by Honda. Just no Honda badging on it. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, but like they
had good engineers underneath him. It wasn't just one guy that did it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
it's
but look,
team effort in that respect. I always believe in that. Like KTM, they're supposedly they spend tons on. They have no problem spending money on engineers, and they go deep. You know what I mean? Like they go deep with their engineers. Their engineers are good.
You
level
do,
1, level 2, level 3. They're all
you
good.
do, but you have a mastermind that's able to jiggle all the pieces of that jigsaw. So
yeah.
You look at Adrian Newey from Red Bull, for example. Like they brought in good engineers under Adrian, right? And Adrian works part-time and whatever. Now, obviously, he's leaving to go to either Aston Martin or one of these, right? But he knows the pieces of the puzzle, right? And you watch this year, right? And it's a prime example of it. Like the development of the Red Bull Formula One car, currently McLaren and all of those are catching up on them, right? Now, if you looked at last year's car, it was like a fucking 2 seconds ahead of everyone else, right? And that's what Newey's fucking development and guidance. Now, Newey is going to leave to another team. So Ferrari? They stopped it. No, they reckon it's Aston Martin or McLaren. But what's happened is that because he's been left out of all those engineering meetings, he is one of those guys that understands every component in the car. In MotoGP term or in Formula One terms, there's only been 3 or 4 people like that. So Adrian Newey was one of them. Ross Brawn was the other, right? Ross Brawn went on to be the technical director of Formula One management after running it. But again, it's those. There's a very few of those people around, and within MotoGP, I do believe Massimo Rivola is one of those people. He has a full understanding of all aspects of that bike and how the vehicle dynamics of that bike go. Gigi Dall'Igna, that is another one of them, right? Honda need to find one of those around the world to enable that. But what I find really interesting is that Rivola was obviously an ex-Formula One man, right? Where is the next leader coming from? I think the next leader for Honda is coming from the Formula One field, but whom is it going to be? Is going to be the thing, and they're going to be bringing in not just like they can make a good engine, they just can't make a good chassis and aerodynamics, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can bring in a really, really good enabler who understands vehicle performance and dynamics, you're golden.
Yeah, Honda needs a Furusawa-san, so to speak, for a young up and coming Honda version of him.
Yeah, and I think look, like this is where I think they go wrong with Pooch. Pooch is a rider, right? He'll always think like a rider, regardless of whatever fucking happened. Rider's perspective. You look at Davide Brivio. Yeah, okay, yes, he did some riding and whatnot, but again, his mindset is more a cooperation, group effort, and whatever. And he was able to successfully translate European manufacturing, working, and development to Japanese. And he did it really, really successfully. And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm so surprised when he was available that Honda wouldn't throw money at him to get him in.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. And when you hear Zarco talk about there's an issue just in the DNA of the bike. I think it's beyond the bike itself. It's Honda as a company at this point.
Yeah. And look, again, it goes down to, and I remember Rossi said it, that they believe that the rider is the most important, or the bike is more important than the rider. And to a certain aspect, it is, right? But then there is also the important thing of the rider feedback. And Honda got lost along the way of, let's get an alien rider in, let's pay him a couple 120 million. He can ride around the problems, and that's it. And next minute, all of a sudden, the ordinary riders' bikes became better. Do you know what I mean? And the superstar rider couldn't keep up. And if you look at it, even today, like Mark was showing his qualities, and people say I don't give Mark credit. Mark was showing his qualities last year on that Honda, getting that Honda into positions in the race where it should never have been.
Right.
This year he's gone. Right. Hondas are lucky if they score a couple of points. Like, I think they have like 14 fucking points.
And I don't think he's not pushing as hard either. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think he's matured a little bit. He's on. I'm not going to push it the same way I pushed a Honda and get pitched off.
But he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's a difference. And like, of course, you're enjoying your riding when you're having fun and you're relaxed on the bike and you're not fucking worried, is this going to be light switch moment for me? No, saying that, the Ducati has bit him a few times when he tries to treat it incorrectly, and when I say treat it incorrectly, it's like when he tries to ride it like a Honda. It doesn't like it. It wears the tire, raises the temperature and the pressures. And, I know he said like a lot of times that I did 4 or 5 laps behind Pecco, but my temperatures went up. He didn't. Well, he did, but he did 4 or 5 laps like a Honda behind Pecco, and everything went fucking crazy. And you see it with the Ducati. The Ducati likes an arcing turn, likes to sit in the fat part of the tire, accelerate out, really stable on the brakes. Don't hustle it. Don't override it. It doesn't like it. If you do, you end up in those situations,
Yeah, and that one thing I know, Tardozzi came out a little bit more recently talking about how maybe Jorge's input in those early days with Ducati wasn't as appreciated as much as it should be. And it's interesting when you look at Pecco, he rides the thing smooth as butter. He looks slow on it, and he's the fastest fucking guy on the track. And it just reminds me of Lorenzo.
It is. It's butter. It's Jorge Lorenzo. Yeah. But like it's so funny that like there are people saying that it's like I don't know if any of you raced, right? But it's like slow in, fast out. Do you know what I mean? And like when someone's going in slow, it's like, Jesus Christ, he's not even pushing. Do you know what I mean? And it's fucking nailing now, and it's just so relaxing. Is the bike built around Pecco? I think in certain aspects it is, right? Because he's their golden rider, but then saying that, if you're building a bike in one direction, sometimes someone can come in with just a different style and be actually, a little bit faster because, they're riding it in a way that it's never been ridden before. So I'm not surprised to see other riders, and, I grow kind of tired of people saying, the gap between the 23 and the 24 is this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, as far as I can remember, the 22 beat the 23 in a number of races in the first part of the season and in the second part of the season. So there's no excuse for a rider on a 23 not winning on a 24 or beating a 24. We're not seeing the complete domination. Okay, we are seeing it in some races of one of them. But if the 24s were 4 seconds a lap faster, then you should have Martin, Bastianini, and Franco right towards the top, and you don't always have that. You know what I mean? You have two of them, maybe three, and one depends if he gets caught in a battle, right? So I do think it is pretty interesting. I also do know, and this is kind of alarming, and I think I heard that Paolo Campanati, who was Pramac's head guy, was trying to steal Bastianini and Frankie Mark's race engineer, to come to Pramac Yamaha.
Interesting.
Because like I still can't figure out what has gone on there. I think it's a heavy embarrassment to Ducati, in my view, that they have lost a work satellite team and still have two other normal satellite teams. Does that make sense? Like if they lost VR46 or Grassini, you could kind of say, well, look, they weren't getting works equipment, they weren't getting works treatment. Kind of understand it. Whereas Pramac were getting it, and I think it goes. I think there's a lot going on there. I don't believe for a second that it all ended because Ducati changed their mindset about having a younger team. Do you know what I mean? Because if you look at it, right, they had Aldegar, who was probably supposed to go to Pramac, right? You know, they then would have had the choice of Franco Morbidelli or a young upstart like Digi Antonio, right?
Right.
So that would have been there, right? And okay, did they get pissed off because Marc Marquez was going there? I don't think so. And this brings it back to my whole thing, is that I think they were screwing around with Martin, and I think the week of Mugello they turned around and said, we're actually rethinking our clauses here, because you're pricking around. You've asked Jorge Martin to wait another 2 fucking weeks or 3 weeks. I think it was more of a statement. And yes, it would have been better financially. The financial package that Yamaha are giving them 100% is thing. But saying this, right, they had one of the fastest riders out there, right? They were going to struggle keeping him next season, but still they were on works Ducati, so they're going to be towards the pointy end of the grid no matter what. They weren't going to be struggling financially to get sponsors. Like I would have thought.
They wanted Marc Marquez, and they thought when they lost him, what do you call it? They threw their toys out of the Pramac.
I don't think Mark was anything to do with the decision. Oh, sorry. I do think Mark was something to do with the decision, in the fact that
didn't help, put it that way.
I think, but even before Mark made the statement about Pramac, I think there was already trouble. I think they were all ready to announce it was going to happen. And I think then when they turned around and said, or they may have privately said it to Mark and them, and then that's when the things blew up. And then Pramac said, well, okay, we're going to move Mark Just Say to the thing. I think Jorge Martin told them fuck off, right? And then they were like, oh shit, if we're going to lose Jorge Martin, over this, and you've treated him well, because remember this, right? They're going to be more loyal to their boy who they brought up. Like, they brought Jorge Martin into the world. You know what I mean? They've seen him develop. The guy was leading the world championship, and they've technically screwed him over, right? He couldn't do anything more, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Martin fan, but in terms of his performance, that just seems like a big injustice, the way he's been treated. But Ducati's not unknown for that either.
They are and they're not. Like, Gigi was always going on saying this was a young riders thing, and realistically, they didn't really need Mark. Do you know what I mean? But I still think there was the issue with Pramac. Everything was all up in the air. I think they were hoping to try and sort it out after the weekend. I genuinely believe that Martin gave them the deadline and stuck to it, and went to him on Sunday evening and said, what's the decision? And they're like, we need more time. And he said, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? And I genuinely believe that contract was done and signed way too quickly. From even Ducati's timeline. Also, you see Ducati coming out and saying, we chose Mark, right? It's the same if someone was getting fired from one department and you said, yeah, I'll take him for a couple of months or whatever, you wouldn't just say, oh yeah, you're actually coming over here because you're going to get fired. You go to them and you say, listen, look, I really want you to be part of the team, build them all into it. Do you know what I mean? So that it's management 101. So
sounds like you fired a few people, Mac.
I worked with one of the largest multinationals in the world. We've done a few, all right. Yeah. So look, I think that I still can't wrap my head around the full why of Pramac. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think we'll ever know it for a while. But I did think it was. I think it was funny that they were trying to steal Bastianini, even though that he signed for KTM. That they did try and sign him and Mark's engineer to come to Yamaha, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, and I guess part of my comment too goes back to Jorge with Ducati. And at the beginning of the season, Davi's outperforming him, and Jorge's saying, well, they're not listening to me, they're not giving me the bike that I need, and the gas tank, this, that, and the other, and Gigi was, kind of brushing him off. I mean, he was practically handed his hat right when he was winning races and was clearly the fastest Ducati by the end of the season, and had to move on.
He did, but it was actually just a matter of bad timing, and look, yes, I think you're right. They didn't give Jorge Lorenzo in Ducati the bike he needed, right? And he whinged, which he does whinge, lads. We will be fair. He is a whinge, and that's not meant in any way, shape, or form in a disrespectful way.
Right, he's always been that way.
He has always been a whinge, and you would have questioned his motivation. Yes, you can say that he wasn't being listened to, but you could question his motivation, because there's a lot of times when you see Jorge and he quits easily. Do you know what I mean? Or he gives up. Do you know what I mean? And just before Austria? I think it was Austria. I can't remember. And then they fired him the Thursday of the race, or maybe that was Davi.
Was it? Yeah, well, because I know Mugello, wasn't it right around Mugello when he had won, and he was already on his way out, right?
Yeah, so they announced on the Thursday he was gone, and he went and won that race weekend. Yeah, so, look, I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to be interesting. Then we have like who is going to, like, the Pramac seat and the Trackhouse Racing seats. They're now the two most valuable seats on the grid. I'm still Fabio Quartararo.
Nobody's talking about it though. It's just kind of laying out there. It's just kind of in no man's land. The Trackhouse.
The Trackhouse.
If you get reminded about it, you'd forget about it. Oh yeah, that's right. There's two seats.
And there's two. Well, okay, one definitely good bike. And I'm a Yamaha fan, so I'm not shitting on Yamaha. But I am of the understanding that Fabio is pushing to have Miguel Oliveira in Pramac Yamaha.
What about is Jack's name still being floated around?
Yep. And like that's where I kind of like find it funny.
I didn't pick up the whole thing, but he didn't get picked up by Grassini.
Who, Jack?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. There's so many fucking.
I know it's getting ridiculous. If you don't check four sources, now it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, look again. Yeah, I'm going to give him the fucking time of day, to be honest.
Trump shooter down at MotoGP, and we know who shot, Trump.
Oh yeah.
Don't even go there. Don't want to know about it. Yeah. Anyway. Look. I think it's going to be Oliveira and Jack Miller there. Paolo did say, that they do want to have a young team and this, that, and the other, but it's going to take a few years before Yamaha is back to where it needs to be. So when you're looking around the grid, who are the kind of the most experienced riders? Like Jack, for all the shit that people give him about being Jack, right? He is a very, very good bike developer. He was good on the Ducati, and he was good on the KTM, and he definitely did bring a lot of quality to the KTM. Could he use it himself? No. Was he as good as some of the riders around him? No. Do you know what I mean? And that's why they showed better, right? Because all of a sudden, like in conjunction with the test team, like when he walked into KTM, right, he was the only one that had ever experienced a good bike. Do you know what I mean? And a rider can tell you, and like that first year, I think he was super important to KTM because he was able to still remember the data of the first tracks. So like your first time in the track, go out the Friday and you're like, yeah, last time I was here on the Ducati, it felt like this. Do you know what I mean? And there was a comparison. Whereas the year comes out and into the next season, that kind of fades. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I think it was like this in the Ducati. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that still brings a lot of value to Yamaha because the KTM is still quite a good bike, even though they still are on version 1 of the frame, which I still find really
shocking, doesn't it? I don't know.
Like a team as progressive as KTM, and they're still on chassis version 1. No,
Right.
I'm sure like the cheek plates down the bottom and that have changed, you know what I mean? But the actual structure of the frame, it hasn't changed much. But yeah, I think it's going to be Jack and Oliveira.
Yeah, and I think Jack, having been on so many different bikes, Jack makes perfect sense for Yamaha.
It does, but Jack's only problem is that he likes the soft tire, and that can lead to problems because that kind of hides problems within the chassis. Do you know what I mean?
Now, do you think that'll be an issue when the 850s come around, though, or as big of an issue for a rider like Jack?
No, I don't think so. But I would be very surprised if Jack is there for the 850s. Do you know what I mean? I think we're looking at the last season or two of Jack. I think we're looking at the last season or two of Miguel Oliveira too. 2 months ago, I would have been very surprised if Miguel Oliveira would have been on the grid next season. I definitely think he'll be there on the Yamaha, especially if Quartararo is pushing for him. Quartararo will get what he wants, and who he wants. There's no doubt. But then it leaves Trackhouse, and we have Raul. Raul will stay, lads. There's no fucking doubt in that in my mind. Even though I don't necessarily see it. Miguel is ahead of him in the championship, but only because of the Sachsenring race. Do you know what I mean? Everything else, he would have been behind. So, but Raul will stay. And the reason I kind of think he'll stay more so, really, do you know what I mean? Like who would you give? Like they have 2 spots. I would love to see Joe Roberts on it, but I really can't see it happening. Do you know what I mean? I don't think. Speed. No, he does have the speed, and he definitely does have the talent, right? But
I don't see it.
But he hasn't kicked the doors in either. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't. Like he's had one good season. They've changed the tires. Yeah. Look, I would be surprised. I wouldn't rule it out completely. It is a very powerful marketing tool to have an American team and an American rider. But
unless you're in America, where half of the people around here don't even know the sport.
Yeah.
Trust me.
You hear all this. How much?
Hopefully, Liberty will change that, though.
We sell a quarter of the bikes that they do in Europe.
Yeah, but look, no one knew Formula One in America 6-7 years ago. They knew of it. You look at the Indianapolis races or this, and there was fucking no one there. Now, it's probably one of the spectacles in America. They have 3 races now? Yeah. They have Las Vegas, they have Miami, and they have COTA. Do you know what I mean? So, and they're all pulling 250,000 spectators a weekend. Right? So,
Well, it's like you guys said, they need that Netflix series. That
And
did
that'll
so
come.
much for them.
That'll come. Like they did it with Prime, right? And it failed miserably because, failed miserably in Ireland, England, and the States because it was in fucking Spanish and Italian and whatever. And you were watching the series and you were reading the subtitles. And do you know what I mean? And then they realized the fuck up that they made, and then what they did then was that they had someone playing Marc Marquez's voice, so he was translating the Spanish, and you were just like, this is fucking cat. So I think what will happen, like you look at it at Drive to Survive, right? Everyone speaks English. End of story, right? There's no communication unless it's in English, right? And I can understand why Dorna didn't do this, because Dorna is Spanish, right? So they're looking at their local language, right? Majority are Spanish and Italian.
Yeah, but look at their track attendance, lately.
Yeah. But like to go to Mugello there about 2 years ago was like €1,700 a ticket, right? It's now down to fucking €90 a ticket, right? Of course, people are going to go. Of course, people are going to come back. You look at a ticket for a weekend entertainment, and you're like €30 a day, $40 a day. Of course, they're going to go. Do you know what I mean? To see the best players in the world.
Basically subsidizing. Which track was it that was basically subsidized for ticket prices? Was it France? Was it
most of them are subsidized nowadays. Do you know what I mean? And when it's subsidized, what it is that it's actually government funding goes into it. Do you know what I mean? To bring down the price of tickets. Like if you look, like we're blessed in MotoGP, but I think it's going to get a little bit more expensive. Like if you were wanting to host a new Formula One race, you're now talking between 40 and 50 million per race weekend to host the race. MotoGP is about 2 million. You know what I mean? So
that was one of the things, because I used to help out with some of the stuff with Ducati when they were at Laguna Seca, and I know Laguna Scramp basically paid the lowest fee of the calendar to host a MotoGP race. So
yeah, but then when you remember, it was just the MotoGP race that they held there. There was no Moto 2 or Joe 250 or 125s.
Yeah,
it was just that race.
Yeah. They supplemented it with once upon a time AMA when that was still around, and but also the paddock it couldn't support all of those classes.
Yeah, but it is one of those things, and unfortunately fans are going to pay for it. But then saying that, one of the things I do like about Formula One is that the commercial rights that's sold for Formula One, especially like in the UK, they got Sky TV on board, right? And it's part of the Sky package, but it's like €15 a month or something for Sky Sports, or €10 a month for Sky Sports, but they have a dedicated channel to it. So all day, every day is fucking something to do with Formula One. So it's increasing its brand, it's increasing its reach, it's increasing this, it's real investment into it. Whereas they look at
MotoGP.com, the same as MotoGP.com, same price.
Well, I didn't know until this year, HBO Max also, well, at least in the States, you can get, full coverage of all of the classes in MotoGP, which I don't know, the subscription for that is actually cheaper than just having, MotoGP.com plus all the other content that you get through HBO Max. So it's just a very weird model that they're using.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I tell you what I do after. So I used to watch MotoGP.com and watch the race on that, and then I figured out that I also have TNT Sports, which show us here in the UK. I pay like $30, $35, $40 a month just for that. Now, I like the team that are on there. I actually prefer over the MotoGP.com team, especially commentating and insights. There's a few. Like Simon is really good at the real technical stuff, right? But he's so awkward then when he's doing like the live lunch updates and this, that, and the other.
I love Simon though.
Yeah. But look, there's other relationships there where within TNT you have Neil Hodgkinson and Sylvain Cantoli, and they're always trying to one up each other and all of this, right? And for me, I can I watched the race. The race is 35 seconds ahead of MotoGP.com. So I love it. So I know the result before Jake. So Jake would tell me, "Oh, he's pushing." I was like, "No, he's in the fucking gravel." Oh shit, he crashed.
Yeah, I know HBO Max does show it live, but I honestly don't know in terms of the feed compared to MotoGP.com if they're ahead, behind, equal.
But I would be kind of geeky and be looking at things like that. And then the very simple thing is that I can record it, and I can record, the extra bits and whatever. So, like, you have to. People need to understand is that a session finishes or a race finishes, and 9 times out of 10, I leave my kitchen, up the stairs, shoot the video, back down the stairs, then watch the rider interviews. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, but like I pause it at the end of when the riders go past the start finish line. So again, it takes me 30 minutes, 35 minutes to get the video out or whatnot. So, there's no point in doing it 2 hours after the race is over, because no one will be fucking interested and everyone already knows the results. But yeah, look, I think with Liberty, we're definitely going to go through an uplift in prices. I think, though, it's going to make it more accessible digitally than it currently is, which I think will be good.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we get some more. We really need some races back here stateside as well. Laguna is the only place I've ever seen GP bikes race, and it's, when you talk about it, about as intimate of an experience as you can get in a modern day track. To use your Silverstone example, it's like, yeah, you're watching it from a mile away. Whereas at Laguna, if you stand on the inside of turn 4, you can practically high five the riders if you step over the fence. And I don't know.
Look, it's kind of funny. Like you're 100% right. They moved where the old start finish line was, right? You had a little bit of grass patch, a little bit of gravel, and then you had the wall, right? And at the wall, you had the people standing there, or going down through Craner curves, right? You had people, and you could see them, and you could hear and feel the exhaust. Like if they had the exhaust on the left hand side of the bike, like you would feel the fucking fumes coming off at you, right?
Oh yeah.
Whereas now, because of the bikes and the cars, and like it's just deemed too dangerous, and they push the walls way back, and you're just like. You're like getting out your fucking binoculars to see it, and that's not what MotoGP is about. And but you also look at a track like Silverstone. While it is fast and flowing and this, that, and the other, right? It's fucking 2 miles wide.
Yeah, I can't stand. I mean, I'm not to upset anybody, but I hate Silverstone as a bike track.
As a bike track, as a car track, it's good. Like, and I'll be honest with you.
I was telling you last week, Silverstone. I mean, it's like.
Yeah.
Jake.
We lost Jake. He's a bit. Yeah, we lost you there, buddy. Yeah.
He said that, and all I got is 3 squiggles across the screen.
Yeah, turn off the porn, Jake, will you, for fuck's sake? Stop streaming the porn.
The hamster for later.
That's it.
Oh, my exhaust came, and I told you that, though. Oh.
He didn't send it to me, you bollocks.
No, but to your point though, if you've never actually heard a GP bike in person, it rattles you to the soul.
Yeah. Oof.
And that doesn't come across in TV, and with some of these tracks, having not been there, I can still tell, like, well, shit, if I need binoculars to see from where I'm standing, then I might as well watch it on TV at that point.
Yeah. Like, listen, look, like. The start of a race, if you're coming into turn 1 of a MotoGP race, right? It would put a horn or give a hard on to a snowman. Do you know what I mean? It would just.
Yes, sir.
It's just automotive porn, right? And then, like, the only thing that it cannot rival, and it still rings in my head, was that I was at a race in Donington Park 500 race. Rossi, I think it was Ryder Rossi's first year or second year. And they went through Redgate Corner, which is the first corner. And I was on the outside of the track and the wind was blowing across, right? And they all came off the throttle and they went back on the throttle and a big puff of blue smoke came out of everyone. And it just came over and engulfed everyone in the audience. And I was just like, I nearly pissed my pants at excitement. Like it was just, but like that's 20 years ago and I can still remember it. Like,
yeah, I was in when Marco Melandri was with Ducati. I was in the garage when they warmed his bike up, and to be standing right there, and I'm over there almost wanting to twist the throttle, and I'm like, well, the mafia is going to take me around back and whack me if I do, but. I mean,
yeah, would have been worth it though.
Yeah, it would have been worth it. I think somebody's about to hop on that and take off.
Yeah. Like that's one of the things I actually love. I watch a couple of YouTube videos of the old Ducatis, you know, like Bayliss and them road. Do you know what I mean? They were really fucking angry sounding motherfuckers. Like, do you know what I mean? They're just like, holy shit! Like,
I don't know if it's still the loudest bike with the thousands, but back in in the 800s, it was by far the loudest of the GP bikes. I don't know how it is now.
I did see recently that you could buy one of the Ducatis. Actually, I did see it that you could actually buy one of the old Ducatis. It was like $250,000. I thought of you, Jake. I said, that's something that you put in your mantelpiece. You can't fucking ride it, but no one else would ever fucking have one. Like,
what version of the Sedici is it?
No, it was one of the old
mantelpiece. I ride every one of them.
You fucking wouldn't ride this one. You can fucking try. You can fucking try.
Kill me, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, if it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger, isn't it?
That on Loris's bike. Those fucking things are tiny. I'm 6'4", and
oh, you too? Okay.
Yeah. I know you're a big guy too, and
you look like an ass with wheels sticking out of it. You know what I mean? So
forget it.
Your ass swallows the motorbike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody told me it looked like you were raping the bike.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Raping you, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
my first Aprilia. I got a 2010. The first one worked at the nines, and it was just too small. Now they came out with another one, and they just made it a little bigger, the tail section. Then it turned into the perfect bike.
Yeah, I really want a RSV4. I haven't sat on one yet, but
I just
I'm already. What's that?
Just bought one. I have every super bike there is. Okay.
How do you fit on it?
Great.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That made it the perfect bike. The tail section's longer. Right? The rest of the bike's fine. And guess what? It's cheaper than you get the regular straight model. It's cheaper than the Japanese ones. And it's a hell of a lot better handling but it has it beat all around. You know what I mean?
Can I get on Mac's charity fund for a Ducati? Except for an Aprilia.
I know, yeah. I was actually fucking yeah.
Yeah, my Ducati's in the shop. One of the plies, the metal plies in the inside popped outward.
You don't love your bikes. You don't mind them enough, Jake. You don't.
And I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Slowest leak I ever saw. And I'm like, there was a pin sticking out of it. It was just a little bitty, and the tire just.
And that pin in there was probably going to cost you $3,000. You always have been a Ducati owner.
Yeah, like, oh man, that was $400.
Yeah. I'm still in shock over the price of a service in them.
Yeah, they didn't even kiss me first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What did you say? $125 an hour?
Yeah,
I'd fucking thump.
He thought we were talking like Alien or something. He's like, what? But
yeah, look, I suppose we're different over here. Do you know what I mean? We're bred different, and there's something.
I think I'm gonna get you one of those mass dampers for your R6 for Christmas.
Was my birthday before Christmas? You know that. But yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. Yeah, see, again, look, it is different. Like over here, we ride bikes, hail, wind, rain, sleet, snow. Do you know what I mean? There's no difference.
Yeah.
Hello, whoever's on Jake's phone call. Hello.
Exactly. Hi.
But yeah, it must have been cool though, being in the garage in a MotoGP weekend.
Yeah, it's a.
Just turn the service
I
light
only
off.
got the experience a few times.
No biggie. It's not
something
like I ride it
get,
that much.
and
You know what I mean? That's why the tire
yeah,
went.
I'm a very fortunate man to have experienced that and not had
Thank
to
you.
pay for it and actually get paid to be there. So
Yeah, because like you go for a VIP weekend now, and I think, well, not a VIP weekend, but like a grade 1 or a grade 2, or maybe it is VIP, but you're talking like $2 or $3 grand a day, like, you know what I mean?
oh yeah.
No, it's not cheap. Jake, you should definitely go for one though. I'd love to see you in the middle of the fucking MotoGP paddock going, Simon, you're fucking wrong, kid. You're wrong. You know shit on. I would pay actual money to see that. Jake versus Simon, 1-on-1 in the paddock.
I could take them.
I was hoping. I don't know what Liberty has planned, but when you think about some American tracks, in places. Jake, you may have even been to Road America, right?
Yeah.
Some tracks that you could see turning into a proper GP track with some safety. I don't know how the safety would pan out.
Yeah,
there's enough runoff on Road America where you or maybe you could put Road, tough one.
I don't think we're going to see a lot. We're going to maybe see another 2 tracks in the UK or in the US, but I really think they're going to be more pushing the marketing of the brand and kind of like a brand discovery exercise over in the States where people know MotoGP more than they know AMA. Do you know what I mean? People over there would tend to know AMA more than thing. So I think that's where it's going to go, and then what that's going to breed out of that then for circuits is exclusivity of your here and there. And like I've seen some of the ones there in Formula One, and they paid like $10,000 just to have a VIP club experience, right? And that suits the tracks, right? And that suits Liberty, right? Because if you've built a brand and it's gone from €1,000 for the weekend to €10,000 per person for the weekend, well, that means okay, we can put the fucking race hosting fees up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, let's not be silly here, right? Liberty Media bought MotoGP to turn a profit and to make it a profitable business. And the only way they're going to be doing that is a really, really effective marketing offense, like what they did with Formula One. Negative side of that is that probably prices are going to raise. Honest thing of that is, and I know people will whinge and moan about it, but like, how many races do people on average go to a year? People 9 times out of 10 will go to their local race, do you know what I mean, or in-country race or whatnot, or they may go to a foreign race that is an hour or 2's flight away from them or whatnot. So
yeah, that's why I haven't bothered to go to COTA, because as soon as they left Laguna again, I pretty much knew I won't be seeing a GP race until I go overseas.
Yeah. It's a, but I think
Liberty's going to end up shooting somebody at Espinosa after the 2027 bikes flop. Okay, they're going to go, okay, that's you son of a bitch.
But what they will do though, like if you look at what Liberty Media did in F1, right? So Bernie Ecclestone was there, right? And then they hired in with Bernie Ecclestone. They Chase Carey as the CEO or whatever. And then they brought in proper heads of the department. So the technical department, they brought in Ross Brown, who was a former team principal of Mercedes and a technical director in Ferrari, right? And then what they did with Ross Brown was they're like, okay, you now work with the FIA. This is what we want the racing to be. You go and work with the FIA and the teams to build a car according to these regulations. Do you know what I mean? Or what we are in line with our vision. And that's what they did. And they changed it, and like they made some very fundamental changes. They moved the tire rim size from 13 inches to 18 inches. They changed the whole regulations concepts. And like so far it's worked. Always look, when you have a regulation change, you always have a team that jumps out in front. Do you know what I mean? And this is where the 2027 regulations, I still expect Ducati and KTM and Aprilia to be stronger than the 2 Japanese, right? And the reason for that is that if the Japanese don't understand the current model of bike, right, going to this one that's going to be even more sensitive to aero, they're never going to understand that either.
Well, that's where Yamaha bringing in Dallara, seems like they're in terms of catching up, they're going about it the right way.
They are, but are they going just that bit too slow? They realistically, and like we'll be very honest here, is that realistically they have the bones of a year to figure out this bike, right? Because the 2026 bike is going to be what we call in Ireland is like a hand-me-down. It's not going to be the forefront of technology. Majority of teams that are behind are already going to say, listen, let's divert our funding to the 2027 bike. We know we're not going to make a massive jump this year. And I think like the development won't be much. Like the bike we see in 26 or 25 will be probably majority of the bike for the 26 season. So, I think it's going to be a rough one if they don't get that understanding in this year, because if they don't understand it by the middle of next year, they have to start diverting their development into 2027. Engine and that will be running by the end of this year, though.
Have you heard any more about the tech freeze, so to speak, the development freeze of the engines and bikes?
Yeah, that was a sticking point in the regulations where the three agreed, and then Aprilia turned around and changed their mind. I think it was which it makes sense that you don't do any engine development for the last 2 seasons or whatnot, but Honda and Yamaha are so far behind. They were like, no, and then Aprilia, I think, turned around and said, actually, now is that because Aprilia have found something for the next 2 seasons that's worth chasing? Probably.
But I think they needed horsepower. Horsepower is the easiest thing to find. Therefore, bam, why not?
Yeah, but I think there has been some sort of agreement, but we just don't know it. I've been trying to find that out, because it was in the original agreement, and then they had to go back to the table again. So I think they found a resolution to it, just not publicized it. And remember, a lot of these working groups that they have, we don't get half of the information or half of what was discussed or whatnot. We only get more or less the results of it. Yeah. Please, sir, can I have some more? But it's Look, it is what it is. I think, 2027 will be what it will be. Whether it'll be a flop or whether it will be great, I don't know, because KTM engine guy says they'll only be down about 30 horsepower, maybe 40.
I saw that too. Then it was rated off of the bike. The original ones had 270 horsepower, but then
no, it's 300. No. The article was.
Well, hasn't and I don't know if this was
270, 275.
Do you think there's any validity to, and I forgot the name of the engineer from KTM that said they are looking at an inline 4 model?
I did do a video
for designs,
right? And like, it's the perfect, like an inline 4 probably has benefits and more benefits than the V, right? But you just don't know with KTM, because KTM will develop both engines and figure out which one suits them best.
That's what I was thinking.
So I think both cases are valid, but like, we will not realistically know until, I would say, the second test session of 2027. Do you know what I mean? Where they're kind of finalizing their packages and getting it ready for homologation.
So to that point, is there anything in the rules in terms of, the first year of 850s, maybe they do a V4? Do they have the option to go to an inline 4 after, the next season?
So the only regulation is that it has to be 4-cylinder.
And the
can't
bore?
Be 3 and the bore. But like you can divide or design any fucking way you want it, as long as it has 4 cylinders. That's one of the first things. Okay, obviously you have the bore sizes and this, that, and the other. But like, you couldn't run an 8-cylinder, tiny engine or a 3-cylinder or whatever. It has to be 4-cylinder, whatever configuration you want to do with that, then it's completely up to you. Whether you want to do a 90 degree, 85 degree, whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, I am
around.
I am excited to see the tech development that comes with this, because with reduced aero, reduced horsepower, I think it's going to make the bikes a lot more sensitive. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not going to have the oomph to push it out of the corner anymore. So lads are going to have to run higher speeds. So the aero now is going to be even more important, but they're going to have less of it. Do you know what I mean? So and this is what I love about Formula One.
Well, they had it have to be back 50 centimeters or something. It doesn't necessarily have to have less. It just has to be in a different spot. If I'm not mistaken.
No, it's less. The wing size overall will be less.
They can't just push it back and then run it longer?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, the way it ran, I thought they could do that, but
no, it's kind of there will be less aero overall, which will make aero really, really important, because the aero because you're going to have less, whatever you have has to work, right? So when you look at the Japanese teams, they don't fucking stand aero, by 2 years' time, they're goosed in the new ones. But we'll wait and see. I'm actually quite excited about them, because I know there's going to be a massive amount of development come off of this in the 2 years or 3 years. And remember, it's 5-year cycle. Liberty Media aren't afraid, and being honest, if something is not working, they're not afraid of changing it. It's a show to them. Mm-hmm. It's do you know what I mean? And it's like, if the show is boring, they'll fucking change it.
Good. Manus 800 stunk. By the way, Scruffy, you just heard it just today. The V4R Ducati is going to have a regular swing arm.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Just talk to the dealer.
Kind of getting to that point too, in terms of Ducati and the rumors that Gigi, or maybe it's not a rumor, that Gigi was really pushing for the 850. Do you think long term that's to translate that into a production bike? Because I've heard a lot about, we're going to get away from 1,000cc road bikes.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear us getting away from 1,000cc.
In the future for emissions, some of the emissions.
No. For emissions, that's like Harley. Like, do you ever notice Harleys are going bigger and bigger and bigger? Mm-hmm. You keep the same horsepower, but go bigger cubic inches. It's easier to get through emissions.
The answer to your question is yes, you're right. Gigi did push big time for the 850. So Gigi has found something or knows something.
He must have some great crystal ball that no one's figured out.
Well, look, he's made one of the most fucking dominating motorbikes in the fucking world. I would love, and this is genuinely, I would love to see the damage someone would do on a GP21 versus the current models. I bet you would beat the Hondas and the Yamahas, hands down.
Oh yeah.
But that's 3 years old. Do you know what I mean? That's
when you cut bore down, it does so much stuff. It screws everything down up so bad. Chopping bore like that is like pulling your cock out and hitting it with a hammer. You're just kind of screwed. You're like, pow, that's it. I'm done. I'm going home.
And if you're fucking stupid to hit your cock with a hammer, you fucking deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't say it was too bright, but look at Dorna.
Someone else may hit it.
Yeah.
But no, look, I think I'm a lot more positive about 27, just more so for the development.
You're always positive.
I think it's going to be good. It's a change. It's breaking the monotony of Ducati coming in and fucking monstering everything. Do they have an advantage? Have they found something?
Find its own level.
But yes and no, right? Because Mercedes-Benz in Formula One dominated for 7 or 8 years.
Aprilia is just about there with Ducati. All they need is a couple more horsepower, and Aprilia is right there. They just needed to handle a little better.
So you have Group A, Group C, and Group D, right? So there is no one near Ducati yet.
No Japanese bike, but you can't.
No. Let me go through this again. You have Group A.
Yeah, Ducati.
I know. No one in Group B. 2 in Group C, and 2 in Group D. No one is near Ducati yet. You look at Formula One, new engine regs came in, our new chassis and car regulations came in. No one could touch Mercedes-Benz for years. Boom. Every race weekend, it was fucking Lewis Hamilton or fucking Nico Rosberg or all of this winning a race for Mercedes. They changed the regulations and then it's all about Red Bull. So, just because, you're dominating in this factor doesn't mean you're going to dominate in the next factor. And it'd be good to see. It would be good to see a little bit of a changing of the guards. Do you know what I mean? And then it will answer an awful lot of questions that we have, like how will Pecco go on a bad bike?
I see, but the old rule, performance finds its own level. Guys see something, they look over, they copy it, and then it becomes, then they get better.
Yeah.
Every time they screw around by changing the rules and hampering and things, it all gets all.
Yeah, but the last time they had a significant rule change in MotoGP was 7 or 8 years ago, right?
So,
and the development life or cycle of a bike is about 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So they need to change something. They're probably 2 or 3 years overdue a change.
I would at least let it go till the switch over change. That everything settle out with the new owners. Give it a year or two.
I think it's the perfect time. And I genuinely do. Like realistically, the changing of the guard is going to happen over the course of the next 2 years. Like realistically, Old Man Dorna is probably going to be shown the door within the next 2 years, right? That's when Liberty. Huh?
It's 2 years too long.
Yeah, but look, he's lost the majority of his power now. I know they said that he's still fucking there, but he's
been handed his hat though, right?
Yeah. Here's your golf clubs. Here's your fucking gin and tonic. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but where else in the world have you ever seen somebody get caught for selling stock, the overselling stock, and they leave him in the company anyway? I mean, that's like what?
Oh, speaking of that, you just reminded me, Jake. You guys hear? I don't know all the details about Puig somehow being involved with being a shareholder during the whole Dorna sale, and a lot of the team managers not knowing about that until some of the documents came out.
Yeah.
Listen, look, anyone, don't really get into it because, look, at the end of the day, if Old Man Dorna gave him stock for some fucking reason,
I don't care about that. But it just.
Well, I would want plenty of stock to be the team manager of fucking Honda, to be honest.
Yeah, because you won't be getting plenty of speed.
Yeah. But anyway. I think, lads, on that bombshell, we'll wrap it up there for this week. I'm going happily on my holidays, lads.
Have fun, pal.
Enjoy.
Next podcast will be from sunny Portugal. I will promise to have a beer in my hand, and so I might turn the camera around and you can watch the chicks in the pool. Anyway. Rightio. So look, on that bombshell, lads, we will drop out and we will see you all again next week.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're good. Great to have you.